So I've been on a prophetic kick this summer. I guess it's because there's so much happening around us in the world, in our nation, in our state. There's so much happening around injustice and around folks who struggle that's prophetic right there. That's prophetic utterances are needed at times like this. And so I've been reading about it and I've been thinking about it, so it makes sense that then you preach about it. And so today, as you heard, it's Jeremiah. And there's a lot going on here. The community that Jeremiah is speaking to has just gone through a lot of difficulties and struggles and strife. They've been taken into exile, and they don't feel centered, and they're disoriented. They're being used to enrich the empire, and you can imagine the tension there. And Jeremiah is attempting to give them a word of hope, but often he's got to do something before then. In other words, there's hope, but he's trying to call the community to a certain reality, to a certain way of assessing the situation in a more truthful way. He's having them to think about their circumstance in a way that might seem inconvenient at times, because after all, adults are revisionist. We like to look back at our lives and make it fit. We like to let ourselves off the hook about certain things, and we like to hyper-focus on things that fit our ideology and our internal narrative. So Jeremiah comes and enters the picture. Remember, he's a young prophet who didn't feel worthy of being a prophet for the Lord, but he is trying to get the community to pay attention to something, to the great deeds of God in the past. He believes that a key component of their struggle is that the community has forgotten. They became so comfortable with their own doings in the world. They became self-centered. They became too assured of their goodness, of their chosen people status, that they totally left God out of the picture. And he says then that the community has forgotten, and because they have forgotten, then now they've gotten themselves into this mess, and the only way for them to get out of this mess, of this exile, of this enslavement, of this struggle, of this strife, is to remember and to choose to behave differently. Author Roberto Lovado wrote a memoir called Unforgetting. It's a story of his life as an immigrant from El Salvador, and it's a story of remembering, or as he calls it, unforgetting. But unforgetting is different, because unforgetting is active. Unforgetting is making a decision to look back at your life and really recalling it for what it truly was: good, bad, and indifferent. Unforgetting also doesn't hesitate to point to the places in our own stories that are painful, where we don't look great, the points in our story where we messed up or we could have done better, the point in our stories where we felt vulnerable and we felt like embarrassed. Unforgetting is a decision we make to take a look at our lives for the truth that life is. And it is only in that action, in the practice of unforgetting, in the posture of it, that real freedom comes from. It's that check-in within our souls about what's really happening. It is a reading of the tea leaves in the world based upon our deepest values: love, compassion, justice, peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, restoration, not making enemy. We begin to look to the prism of that reality and we take stock. This is probably why Jesus often told us that the truth would set us free. Even if the truth is messy, even if the truth is complicated, even if the truth doesn't always show us in the best light, it is in this unforgetting that real life can come from. And the prophet then gives us an image of what happens when we don't do that, when we don't get real, when we don't look at things in that truthful prism. Oh, by the way, a truthful prism that's made possible by the Spirit's work in us. That's what allows us to take a look at our lives in that way. So when we don't do that, the prophet has an interesting image. He says we're building cracked cisterns. A cistern is built on the ground and it holds water. And often the ancients would cover it with some clay, right, so that the water wouldn't seep out. But then the prophet says, you've built these cracked cisterns. You've put your faith on this settled water, and the water's going out through the cracks, instead of putting your faith on the living water that is God. You have so much confidence in your own power. You have so much confidence in your own revisionist history. You have so much confidence in the lies you've told yourself about your own life and the life of your community. You have so much confidence on the stuff that you've created, the scaffolding of life that you've created for yourself to make yourself feel better, and it's all for naught. It's gone away. It's for naught. It's seeped through the cracks of the cistern. Instead, look at the living water. Unforget. Remember well. Remember the power of God. Remember that you belong to one another. Remember that without the power of love, that we got nothing. Remember your basic values and the virtues of your life, and begin to then construct a new reality for you and for your children and for your children's children. Start again. That new start is actually possible. People of God, if we're to be faithful in our shared work, if we're to be in these days where there's so much untruth or so much fake news, in this era where there seems like it's so hard to grasp what's really happening, it is of utmost importance that the community called the church gets real, really real, and commits to truth-telling and reconciliation, especially when it's inconvenient. And whether that's about our own lives, unforgetting about our own lives, unforgetting about our lives together, or unforgetting as a civic community, we gotta root deeply into our key values, the values that come from that living water, not settle for the cracked cisterns, but instead to stay rooted in that, and then call the community time and time again to the truth that is God, to the love that is God, to the reconciliation that is God, and to our desperate need to rely upon that God for our life and our life together now and in the days to come. The challenges are many. The information, constant. We're overwhelmed by it. We are the people who will remember the great mighty acts of God. And we're the people who are not going to settle for the stagnant water that goes away. We are going to be breathed into life by the living water. And then we're going to be faithful prophets, pointing to anything around us that doesn't live up to the ideals of a just God, whether it's convenient for our way of thinking or not, whether it fits that internal narrative or not. We're pointing towards where love is not found, and we committing together to be agents of that living water for the life of the world. Let us unforget together.